Hello, everyone. This is Miss Sharita here, and I am excited to talk about our September virtual coffee hour, which is about nature and the importance of insect and animal habitats. So, I love talking with young children about animals and about bugs. There's so much to learn when you go outdoors and when you bring nature indoors to share and learn with the children about their natural environment. This is why inside of the classroom, we include natural materials made with wood, which mimic what the children would experience outdoors. Wood is a natural habitat for many creatures, including insects and animals. And there are so many different ways that we can bring leaves and sticks, rocks and pebbles into the classroom. There are so many ways that we can collect bugs, examine them, talk about them, observe animals in the environment, and really enjoy the process of understanding what nature is and how we share this natural space. We share our environment with creatures such as animals and insects. So I'm very excited to talk about this. And thank you so much for allowing this to be an asynchronous session where I am talking us through a guided presentation about the importance of these habitats for young children. So when we look at different animals and when we look at different insects, you see that there is a difference in what you see visually. There's a difference in how the animals live, what they eat, what they look like. And this clear distinction and change, the shifts of the metamorphosis, the life cycle, when you talk about seasons and certain bugs and animals being around in certain seasons and in certain environments and living in certain places, the children start to really think about, well, what does this mean? Where do the birds live? Okay, so we know that we see them in the sky. We know that, we hear them chirping outdoors. We might see them land on a fence or a branch nearby. Okay, but when we really start to get into discussing what is it that makes a bird special, and also what is it that makes a bird a part of nature, then you can start to talk to the children about, well, what does the bird eat? And where does the bird go? And what does the bird like to do? And where does the bird live? And do you think the bird has a nest? And where do you think the nest could be? And do you think that there are any eggs in the nest? How many eggs do you think there could be in the bird's nest? Does the bird have eyes? Does the bird have feathers? Does the bird have a beak? What sound does the bird make? So there are so many different questions that you can ask a young child about nature and animals and bugs and the habitats that come with them all. You can also share the human habitat. Okay, nature is also about what we do. Talk about what you do at home, why you do it, what do people do? What does mommy do? What does daddy do? What does little one do? What does baby do? What does grandma do? What does grandpa do? What does auntie and uncle do? Where do they go? What do they eat? Where do they live? So, habitats are extremely important to young children when it comes to them understanding where they are in life. Some habitats can be natural, some habitats can be domesticated, some habitats can be agricultural, some habitats can be wild and free. So it really depends on what the children are looking for. A lot of times when we talk about farm animals, the children assume that all pigs live on a farm, and they don't. They assume that all horses live on a farm, and they do not. They assume that all ducks live on a farm, but they don't. All sheep live on a farm, and so on and so forth. So when you start to open a child's understanding of habitats, that the farm is one specific environment, it's one habitat where you may find a series of these animals. Let's say the farm has rabbits, okay? You can find rabbits at the farm and in nature. You can also find rabbits in someone's home as a pet. So many different animals have many different variabilities of where they can be found. And children need to understand that. They need to know that. Just when they get older, you start to talk about the food chain, let's say, for instance, and how things connect. Okay, you have algae in the ocean. Well, the fish may eat the algae and the whale may eat the fish. You start to talk about the chain of events. Oh, well, you have a fruit nectar that a butterfly may eat, but then a bird may come along and eat the butterfly. So there's a process and a change in how things happen. You can also talk about where our food comes from. Okay, our food doesn't come from the grocery store. It comes from the farm. It comes from the butcher's market. It comes from the ocean. It comes from the land. It comes from the sky. So when we talk about where all of these animals live, what they do, what they eat, what their family systems are like, where they're from, what part of the world do they reside in, right? It's not easy to find a koala in the United States. If you can, more than likely they're in captivity. Koalas are naturally found where? Of course, we know that's Australia. Then that leads the children to talking about another discovery. Well, what is Australia? And why do the koalas live there? And what do the koalas eat while they're there? Interestingly enough, koalas only eat eucalyptus leaves. This koala is in the tree with a young koala baby bear, and they are in a eucalyptus tree. Okay, a beautiful eucalyptus tree. And the koala is one of the only animals in the world that has the intestinal and stomach acid composition to eat tremendous amounts of eucalyptus without it becoming ill or suffering a fatality. Other animals cannot process eucalyptus the way that koala bears do. So naturally, koala bears fit into a habitat where natural eucalyptus lives and thrives. And that happens to be quite a few in Australia. So there's so many different variations that make animals special. Okay, we could talk about the color of the animal, the features of the animal, the texture of the animal, the family system. Where are they living? What are they doing? What are they eating? Who do you see? Do you see one koala or two koalas? Do you see three koalas? Are the koalas in the ocean? Are the koalas in the sky? Are the koalas in a tree? Yes. So taking a look at different kinds of animals. Okay, here we have an amphibian. You know, you can take a look at reptiles. You can take a look at mollusks. You can take a look at any kind of evolutionary standard for an animal kingdom, and you can use it for conversation with very young children. Children love to learn huge, copious amounts of information without any reservation. And the more you offer young children about the understanding of the world that they live in, the more they're able to come to the conclusions on their own that they are a part of it, that they are a part of the system that is nature, they are a part of the ecosystem, okay? They are part of their family system, they're a part of an environmental system that is all connected. Okay, talking to the children about, what color is this frog? Does this frog look smooth or bumpy? Is this frog red, or is this frog blue, or is this frog purple, or is this frog orange? Is this frog sitting on a cloud? Is this frog on a table, or is this frog on a leaf? Hmm, I wonder, what do frogs eat? Do you think this frog eats bugs? Well, what kind of bugs do you think the frog eats? Do you think the frog may eat a butterfly, or maybe a fly, or maybe a mosquito? What about a bumblebee? Who knows? But interesting questions lead to interesting conversations, which lead to interesting discoveries, which are all a part of nature. Nature is very interesting. So, children naturally and innately love animals. There's just something about the life of animals that just really brings home a sense of serenity to young children. They love the majestic nature of other creatures outside of themselves living in the systems that they are living in. So, when they have an opportunity to observe animals at a farm and an opportunity to observe animals in an aquarium, when they have an opportunity to observe animals in the forest or in the ocean or in the mountain or in the valley or in the sky, that also adds to their interpersonal experience. And the children truly, truly love these things. How many horses do you see in this picture? Where do you think the horses are? Do the horses have fur or manes? Lots of hair on the tail and on the head? And on the neck? Is there a daddy and a baby, or is that a mama and a baby horse? How many hooves do the horses have? Okay, talk about the physical characteristics and differences. Which one of these horses has small polka dots? Okay, they're going to search and find which one of these horses has little polka dots. Which one of these horses is eating the grass? Is the grass covered in snow or is the grass covered in sand? Hmm, we wonder. So, thinking about this and looking at pictures with young children and exploring nature and allowing them to see animals in all varieties of habitats, not totally in captivity, because then they don't get the full picture of what it is that nature has to offer. Nature doesn't offer just captivity, right? We are not confined to our homes 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, right? And neither are any of the animals that live in the wild and the bugs that live in the wild as well. Okay? So, certain animals live in certain places, certain animals have certain characteristics, certain animals have certain features and skills and qualities and necessities and dietary needs that are different from others. And then animals also share a lot of qualities, right? They care for their young, they create family systems, they have techniques for survival, and they make the best of their environment. Moving on to bugs. I know this is a fun topic for our little ones, maybe not so much adults, but bugs are another very interesting subject for young children. Bugs introduce the life cycle probably more significantly than a lot of other means because bugs are very intricate in nature and they harbor a certain level of intricate natural intelligence that comes with the building of their systems, that comes with the changing and the metamorphosis of the process that they go through to reach one point to the next. So there's so much happening in the world of bugs that children tend to pay quite a bit of attention to it. Have you ever seen a toddler or an infant take a really close look at a ladybug? Right? Have you ever been gardening and you happen to see some really teeny tiny bugs and beetles and maybe spider mites or spiders on your garden plants, and the children are just completely enamored with that? Have you ever seen, aphids and different snails and mollusks, you know, rummaging through an environment, natural or not, natural with water or without water. Where do the bugs live? Where do they go? What do they eat? Right? Where do they live? Do they fly? Do they crawl? Do they bite? What color is the ladybug? Does the ladybug have polka dots or stripes? Is there one big ladybug or many ladybugs? Okay. Is there a mama ladybug and baby ladybugs? Right? Does the ladybug have eyes? Does the ladybug have a shell or exoskeleton? Is the ladybug on the grass or on a leaf or on a rock? Okay, so many questions to ask our young children. Children also love observing bees. We always mention to not get too close because bees are beautiful to watch and beautiful to see as they organize themselves from flower to flower, collecting pollen to take back to an unknown location of where their hive or their nest may be. And the children always notice a bee going from flower to flower. They'll point it out, they'll make a buzzing sound, and they're very intrigued. And a bee is part of an extraordinary system, a system with a chain of command. Ants as well have a great chain of command, and there is a process, there's a hierarchy that takes place in the systems with insects. And when you start to talk to children about, bees collecting pollen and taking that back to the nest to feed the babies and to help the mama queen, and then they go back out and they get more pollen, and that the whole process of that creates what we call honey, which is very sweet, right? Children are very intrigued by animals and bugs offer another level of serenity and observation because bugs tend to kind of be in their own world. Bugs are always doing their own thing. And that is how I, view our human existence. We are all living in this place and we're really moving together symbiotically and part of a system, but we also are doing our own thing and moving in an individual fashion. There might be a hive of bees, but you might only see one bee gathering the pollen. There might be an entire, tree covered in butterflies, but you might only see one actually visiting a butterfly bush in your neighborhood at that particular moment. But that doesn't take away from the experience. It adds to the experience because the experiences can be brought to us. We can literally go outside, go in our backyard, go for a walk, go to the park, and observe nature in action. Okay. Some parts of nature, such as this very large and ominous spider here, may not be the best friends to run into out in nature, but the intricacy of the web is something that a child would innately adore because of all of the work that the spider put into creating something so beautiful. Yes, it is a trap to catch food, and no one does that better than the spider. But a child observing that spider web from a distance, covered in morning dew, and being able to see that clearly and being able to see the host that created that is an enamoring experience. So, using nature to our advantage to really allow children to understand systems and understand habitats and understand differences and similarities and understand skills and intricacies of each creature is very important. It increases an awareness of our children's diversity, their visual diversity, their auditorial diversity, their distinctive diversity of them understanding the difference between certain things and welcoming a plethora of different stimulus in the process of their learning and wanting to know more about that. Okay. So, nature and habitats are extremely important for young children. There's so many things that a young child can discover with very little effort or impact by simply just going out in nature and enjoying the outdoors, working in the garden, visiting the farm, going outdoors, going for a hike, going to a walk to a park, traveling out of state, having nature activities in another area where you may see bugs and animals that you've never seen before. And that will broaden the horizon of a child's experience and what they are looking for when it comes to them learning about habitats and the environment and where they fit in and what systems are taking place and what is happening with everything around them. So I'd like to take a quick look here at an article that I have from academyofthewinds.org, and it is about reality and nature in the Montessori classroom. And I think it's kind of important to kind of start with a Maria Montessori quote to kind of drive home the point that, everything that we're doing in the environment is based off of a scientific pedagogy. It's based off of scientific principles to help the children to thrive in their own capacity and in their own way by introducing them to everything that they have access to that they may not be aware of, such as their senses, such as their ability to do, their ability to observe, their ability to understand and absorb and learn and experience and discover. It is an amazing way for a child to be able to understand who they are and what everything is around them. So we have a quote here from Maria Montessori that says the first aim of the prepared environment is, as far as it is possible, to render the growing child independent of the adult. Okay, so our children do a lot of work for themselves in terms of self-feeding, helping to clean the environment. There's so many different aspects. Okay, so the children, especially when they're very young, under the age of 3, are very concrete learners. They move more into an abstract realm of scientific thinking and understanding their world when they are above the age of 3. But under the age of 3, they're very concrete and they are very hands on and they want to understand what is happening. Okay. Some children love more creative based work, some children love reality based work. But as long as they have a healthy mix of both and none of it has anything to do with something they'll find on the television, then we are really imparting the information that the children need to understand their environment, their classroom, and each other. Okay. So the Montessori classroom is like a microcosm of the world, right? It's a miniature model of the greater world. That's another part of a system. It's a small system inside of a system inside of a system, right? We here we are in Riverdale, Maryland. That's inside of the system that is in Maryland, right? That is inside of the system that is the United States of America, right? That is inside of the system that is the North American continent, that is inside of the system that is on the planet of the Earth, that is inside of the system that is part of the uh, solar system, okay, that is inside of the system that is the Milky Way, and that is inside of the system that is the vast universe, okay? So that we went from small to big, and you can even go even further. We have our system of Riverdale that goes down to the systems of our home, correct? That goes down to the systems of our families. And then it goes down to the systems of who we are and how we fit into that family, okay? There are so many dynamics to understanding nature and the real world, okay? And Montessori has really helped to uh, many children to understand the capacity that they have when given the opportunity to be presented with real life, to participate in a society, to function in the world as a whole person, and um, to be accepted for who they are, right? So I like this table here that was included on this site where it has Montessori versus traditional school. So Montessori on the left, you have students have the freedom to self-select day-to-day execution of larger educational goals. So they are in the process of teaching themselves the skills that they would like to learn along with teacher-guided activities. But most of the work that the students do, they are free to choose on their own. And they can also work independently or they may choose to work with others. So everything is choice-based. We have freedom of choice, freedom of movement. We have mixed age play. We have an environment where the children have access to anything that they would like to utilize in the environment inside of the parameters of appropriate use, such as safety, right? Only one of each material is present in a classroom. This requires students to understand that not everything will be available to them at all times. And this is very important. Children have to practice patience. They need to wait. They need to wait their turn. They have to have delayed or deferred gratification that helps them to build resilience as they get older. It also requires students to cooperate, wait, take turns, and practice patience. When you look at the traditional model, students may sit at desks or go through a pre-prescribed scheduled curriculum or work. They're assigned in groups and told how to communicate within those groups. Many materials have an entire classroom set available, subconsciously teaching students that they can have whatever they want, whenever they want. This approach lends itself more to immediate gratification and impatience, right? So if we are, uh, you know, gratifying every need instantly, and never providing the opportunity for problem solving or self coping or observation and personal analysis, then we are not giving the opportunity for our children to freely thrive and grow in a reality based world. Okay. So our environment is reality based. All of the materials, tables and chairs are wooden. They're child sized. We have plants inside of the environment. Okay. We have use of materials that are natural, such as wooden trays or metal trays. Those are things that you can find in nature. Okay. We try to use as little plastic as possible. And the children are used to using the natural materials, which are soothing, they are comforting, they're calming, they're quality, and they connect to the nature outdoors. All right, so when we are in the classroom, there are many different ways that we work together to become successful. Okay, some students are learning how to use the bathroom, some students will ask for their own water, some students will serve themselves a snack or they'll ask for more using sign language. Students are cleaning up after themselves, they understand the schedule. Okay, they help with cooking activities and they care for the environment, right? We go outdoors and we care for the plants. We go outside and we make sure that we are observing our peers, that we are playing well, that we are being kind to each other, that we're being kind to our toys, that we're being cooperative within our environment. And then we also observe the animals that are also working in the environment as well. So you want to integrate nature into your home as much as possible. Plants, beautiful plants in a windowsill, hanging plants, plants on your porch, front yard, backyard, gardens, flowers are all beautiful assets to the home. And you want the child to be able to see that indoors and outdoors, right? We want the children to be able to embrace nature at all times, not just when they go outside. So having natural utensils, natural dishes, natural objects within your environment that a child can spend time around or in, and have their toys be very natural, as far away from unnatural as possible, and as far away from technology as possible. So, nature is nature, right? We go outside in our backyard, and there is not a big digital screen that we can scroll through nature and see anything, right? We have to be a part of it. We have to experience it as a part of who we are, right? Nature makes us uh, serene. It brings things into perspective. It makes us introspective. It is naturally calming. If you put your bare feet on the sand or on a stone surface or on a wooden surface or on a dirt surface, you're receiving the electromagnetic current from the planet, which brings all of your stress down to zero. And if you find yourself doing that every day, you'd be amazed at how much pain it relieves, how much inflammation it relieves, how much stress, anxiety, and tension it relieves from the body just by planting your feet on a natural earthen surface. Okay. So there are times when we encourage the children to be barefoot, right? We have a wooden floor inside the classroom. Why not take off our shoes and walk around and enjoy the feeling of that soft surface on our feet? Why not go outside and put our toes in the grass, right? And enjoy the feeling of nature and how that can create a reality based experience for our young children. So it's really wonderful to have the opportunity to work with young children, to share with young children, and to build them up in a natural way that allows for just the connection to multiple systems at a time. And so it's just really wonderful to see how that process works together. So now I'm going to open another window where I'm going to show you an example of some of the works, and then we'll wrap this up. And thank you so much for your time. I wanted to show you how in a Montessori classroom some of these works can be put together, especially when the children are moving to age 2.5 to 3 and up, where you start to talk about, insect habitats or animal habitats and what does that look like, or you talk about life cycles, right? This work here is very interesting because you've got the butterfly, the honeybee, the ant, and the ladybug, and they all have the different stages of the life cycles. I mean, from the eggs to the larva to the pupa to the actual insect, okay? And this is great for children to understand what those habitats are, what they look like, and what that means. Also, matching different kinds of bugs, matching the parts of the bugs. Okay. This is more advanced. This is as the children age up in Montessori, probably 4 to 6 years of age, where you can determine whether you're matching, the hind wings or the forewings or the head. Okay. Very distinctive aspect. All right. You have to figure out, this could be a picture to picture matching work where this is your base picture work. And then you've got a bunch of different cards that are laminated on the side, and the children visually match what bug matches with what bug. That creates an ability for visual discrimination and the ability to understand life cycles as well. Okay. Another picture here pointing out different parts of the bugs and their life cycles as well. Okay, is it an insect work? Yes, check. No, X. Okay, so then the children have to figure out what is what. What is a bug? What is not a bug? Right? And of course, the children will be given precursor information of what that is. The yes and no would be taught to them before they're just handed this material to figure it out. Matching bugs. Okay. Fly to fly, match. Grasshopper to grasshopper, match. Ant to ant, match. Dragonfly to dragonfly, match. Caterpillar to caterpillar, match, and so on and so forth. Visual discrimination and distinction. Okay? Can you match the eggs? Can you match the caterpillar? Can you match the chrysalis? Can you match the butterfly? All reinforcing information of habitat process in nature, life cycles. Okay. I thought this was super cool that a teacher actually created a live felt bug habitat in their classroom. They've got like a little ant cave and rocks and water and sky and flowers, all the different places where you can find bugs, right? And then the kids have these little felt and also three-dimensional bugs that they can move around and really be interactive with this, right? The bumblebee could be by the ant cave. The ladybug could be by the water. The grasshopper could be, bouncing in the sky with the butterflies. Who knows what the child's imagination would show you? Okay. So there are also different kinds of cards and curricular materials that will show you what kind of plants butterflies like and what kinds of breeds of butterfly there are. There's so many different kinds of bugs and so many different kinds of animals. You can also, I've done this in the past. It is a very interesting process, I must tell you, to get a butterfly garden, and you literally get this kit with the tiny caterpillars in it. The caterpillars make their cocoon. They go through the whole process of building the cocoon, and then they live in the cocoon and they molt the cocoon, and then the butterflies come out and you give them a day or two for their wings to dry out, and then you release them into nature with the children. Wonderful life cycle experiment. Okay, just make sure that no animals like cats or dogs are anywhere close when you release your butterfly, because I've seen some TikTok videos where this poor experiment went wrong because Fido was standing right there, and the poor butterfly that took a long time to get to where it was sadly an afternoon snack. So please, stand on a porch away from the animals or stand out in the backyard where it's like a nice, clear, open space. And that's not to say that a bird won't come swooping down, because these butterflies are very delicate, they're very new, and they are raised in captivity. And when you release them into the wild, they have no idea what it's like to crawl up the length of a 20-foot tree, create their chrysalis, and then molt from that as a butterfly ready to live in nature. So there's a difference there. So if these butterflies seem a little fragile to you, it is because they were raised in captivity. So that just keep that in mind, but it is a wonderful experiment. This is also a wonderful asset. Montessori puzzles have such great ability to separate parts of animals and bugs. We have a fish puzzle and a bird puzzle in the classroom, and I have a horse puzzle, have a flower puzzle, a frog puzzle. There are so many different kinds of these different puzzles. I love this puzzle. I'm definitely going to get it because it is just wonderful that you can see the parts of the bug, learn about that, and have the children really understand what is it that makes all this function? What is it that makes all of this work? You can also use color to your advantage to also focus on a specific subject. I really like this work where you have red bugs, yellow bugs, blue bugs, and the children have to talk about and discern, which bugs are what color and what category do they belong to. So now moving forward to animals, we can do the same thing with animals with the picture to habitat background. Of course, you would have this lesson be done in the classroom. You would talk about, where these different animals live, and you would introduce it to the children before handing it over. As the children age up into primary and beyond, you start to talk about animals from different countries, animals from different continents, animals from different regions, different parts of the world. And then that really starts to bring into perspective what is happening everywhere, right? It brings you back to geography. It brings you back to agriculture. It brings you back to nature. It brings you back to habitats and systems. Okay. And this is another picture card pointing out different animals. These can be divided into different categories such as big, medium, and small. You can have large animal figurines, medium sized animal and bug figurines, small animal and bug figurines. Have the child separate and sort. This is what you would call a sorting activity, where they are visually making a distinction between one object and another. Okay? Moving into different parts of the country. What do animals from Africa look like? What do animals from South America look like? What do animals from Europe look like? What do animals from Asia look like? What do animals from the Madagascar Islands look like? Okay, you can go as deep as you want to, depending on the interest of the classroom and the span of the curriculum and how far that really goes. But, all the way up to elementary and high school, Montessori has the ability to connect these earlier theories to much more advanced and abstract theories later on in a child's educational career because they've been given so much information up front when their mind is at the most malleable and fluid and receptive to the universal information that is around them at all times. Okay, so here we have some object to picture matching, which would be a nice habitat or animal naming activity. You could also encourage this with extended conversation in the classroom. All right, this one I thought was wonderful how you've got these beautiful photographs of these different habitat areas, and then you have to match what animal could possibly go there. Okay, where does the boa constrictor live? Where does the frog live? Where does the giraffe live? Where does the camel live? Where does the elephant live? Where does the polar bear live? And then putting these 3D objects on top of a two-dimensional picture actually looks as if the animal is actually in the habitat. So it's almost like a two-dimensional slash three-dimensional panorama without the box, which I find fascinating. Here, you're getting into the primary slash lower elementary classroom. Upper elementary classroom can be even more advanced. You have continent boxes here where you've got animals that match the continent, sometimes people, objects. Okay. So then the children get a world experience, a cultural experience in the classroom that's directly connected to nature, geography, animals. And what is geography? It's a habitat, right? Everywhere in the world is a habitat for something. Even in the most inhospitable places, there is a habitat and there is something living there, right? And this last image here I thought was really nice to show how this particular child was separating different animals for different areas. And this looks like something that was created at home. It looks like something that the parents have introduced. What is a forest and who lives there? What is a jungle and who lives there? What's an ocean and who lives there? Who flies in the sky? Who lives in the sandy desert or who lives in the icy snow? So I thought this was wonderful to see in terms of, how these habitats fit together, how that all merges, and how, we work to functionally help the children to understand what all that means. Okay. All right. And I believe that that is it for us. Okay. And I was going to go back to our four-step slide. Let me see if it's on this other page. Yep, here we go. Sorry about the back and forth here. And I'm going to resume my share. And we're back at our snail. Wonderful that can definitely be observed. Okay, well, it looks like that is the end. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.